back to In the House podcast with Jenny and Toni.
Hi there.
And hey, Jenny, how's your summer going? It's nearing the end. We're almost in September.
It is too soon. Fall is coming around too soon for me.
There's been a change in the weather already. It's getting a bit cooler.
I don't even think it was that hot for a very long time. Maybe like 1 week.
It was hot for me. I'm a pregnant lady. Very hot.
For me, no. I'm usually in the tropics right around this time.
That's right. You can't travel right now.
No, I know.
Aww.
So I'm traveling locally.
Where did you go?
I'm just doing a lot of hikes in Squamish and Pemberton and going to probably the Okanagan.
Love those areas.
In September. Yeah.
Did you go to, it's been really interesting, even for real estate, since the podcast is about things real estate too, but have you gone to Vancouver Island or Tofino at all?
I have not been to Tofino since probably like 6 years.
It's changed a lot actually out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I want to check it out.
But you should, if you like the hikes and everything, you should totally go.
Yeah. Okay, I will.
Okay. Well, just a little bit of, I guess, what we've been up to going into fall soon. And we have a great episode for you guys today. It was a highly requested episode from one of the first podcasts that we ever did.
Okay.
Today's topic is on personality styles. And I guess people could be thinking, well, why is that important? So for those of you that reached out, personality styles are so important in real estate and any type of sales business really, because it can relate to a variety of things. So for example, communicating properly with clients.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It can also, translate if you have better communication and you're communicating properly to the appropriate personality style.
Yes, and how they receive it.
Exactly, in terms of how they want to receive the information. It can actually increase your sales volume and your closing ability.
And how they're going to break down that information once you talk to them about it.
Absolutely, so that they fully understand. On another level, it can really impact and affect the way that you do your hiring for an effective real estate team.
And also how the team will interact with each other.
Exactly, because these dynamics are super important if you want to be set up for success. And the final one, the final one that we were kind of talking about was how to actually spot certain personality types so that you can communicate with the different quadrants in a way that they understand.
Okay.
But without giving them a personality assessment.
Okay.
So there's certain telltale signs for that.
Yeah.
And it might be really useful to our listeners who are interested in learning more about versatility and how the personality styles can affect their business. Okay, but to get started, so that's kind of the outline for today. I guess we should talk about communicating. Why is communication important?
That's what we do.
I know. I guess, okay, so for example, when you, in your real estate business, you have a team now, you have a marketing team and a sales team, but when you were in sales, what did you notice specifically about different types of clients, and how did you communicate with them differently based on what personality style they would fall into?
As a salesperson, I think it's really important that you have to have a really high emotional intelligence. Having high emotional intelligence, I feel like, I wonder if it's something that you can nurture, or is it natural? So can you learn it, or does it naturally come to you? Perhaps you can evaluate it from a third point of view, but then to actually feel and use the right words and understand what they're actually trying to explain or mean. I think that's a whole different level of engagement.
And there's actually lots of studies in that too. So it sounds like you're talking about what degree of personality style is ingrained and static. Is that kind of what you mean? And what portion of it can be
what
learned,
we can naturally pick up,
learned or adapted.
Or something a skill that you have to learn on top of what you already have in you. That I feel like, if you are naturally like a certain personality trait, or you hold a certain behavior, you may tend to understand or pick those type of signals up naturally with somebody with a similar type of traits. And then someone who maybe is total opposite, like let's just say, for example, you're a type A director, and then you're working with somebody who is overly sensitive, overly like needs a lot of hand-holding and coddling. Maybe that is easily picked. You could easily pick that type of trait up, but you may not know how to handle that type of person.
Okay, so let's go into then, because you said they might be overly sensitive. It's not overly sensitive, they're more sensitive than you.
That's true.
So you are not that personality style. But perhaps for the listeners, we could talk about, we should actually name the different styles, and the names and categories will vary depending on what type of personality scale or traits you're looking at. So in the past episodes, we actually talked about some personality assessments. Those assessments even call them different things, but for, I guess, clarity's sake, let's maybe give everyone an outline of kind of the quadrant, what we're talking about. Yes, and then perhaps then we can give examples and then what they can actually look for. How to spot these people without doing the actual personality assessment, because that takes time.
Yeah.
You want to spot them quickly.
I think it'll also be interesting to share what we are to our listeners.
I mean,
I think they already know.
If you're watching, you could probably tell. Jenny's not overly sensitive.
I am. You just don't know me that well. Yet.
I know you. Okay.
I do cry in certain videos where it involves,
like, commercials or?
Yeah, I do. TikTok videos. I do. The last one was when a grandmother was receiving this pillow of her spouse who had passed away.
Oh, I mean, that's sad though.
That's sad. I'm sensitive. Come on.
Do you think I'm more sensitive than you?
That you're more sensitive than me. No, I think I'm more sensitive than you. Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes I'm like, do I need to say this? And because I don't mean.
You're holding back from me?
No, I just I was like, do I need to deliver this message in a softer way, or can I just say what I mean and not have it interpreted to mean like something offensive? I often
do you have to do that with other people or just with me?
No, I have to do that with everyone because I'm not sensitive. The only time I'm sensitive right now is because I'm gonna have our second baby anytime soon, and my emotions are a little bit all over the place, but my husband still calls me a robot. So it's hard to relate to people if you're not.
Because I'm trying to ask you, like, how are you feeling? You're just like,
I'm like, good.
Yeah. Back to business.
Okay. So let's get back to the personality quadrants. Did you want to touch on that a bit? Because you're really great with personality styles and assessments.
I'm feeling like I am good at it because I know I'm good at it because I put teams together. And so I've been able to work with a wide range of personalities and of all age groups, of all backgrounds, with different developers. And what I find is that the team will excel when you bring out the best in them with their strengths.
Okay, and that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So then so let's talk about the team first. So if you were hiring for a team, what kind of elements would you want each team member to have? Like, what kind of balance in that team based on their personality assessments do you think would set that team up for success?
Okay, so you're asking for a combination of what strengths they need to have in order to have a successful team. So I don't know if I don't think it comes to me that way. I feel like you can't just, there's roles. Okay, first of all, I think you need to fill the roles. And then from there, that person needs to be suited for that role. Like, I don't feel like you can put together a team based on like their personalities, right? So what I mean by that is, let's just say a medium-sized project for me would be a sales manager, a sales rep, and a sales coordinator, and a sales assistant. So 4. Every role plays a different importance in the sales center, but a sales manager would be obviously the leader, would give a lot of direction to the rest of the team, would know how to make decisions, would know how to problem solve. Yeah. A sales rep has the ability to take direction, but is also hungry to learn more. And I would probably say one of the bigger things that a sales rep would also handle is knowing how to be a role model without making the other teammates feel like there's some importance to everybody.
So it's a bit of a leader. It's kind of like stepping into some kind of leadership role, but not being the primary decision maker, who would actually be the manager.
Yeah, and they could collaborate, but at the end of the day, the person who is a sales manager, perhaps with more experience, more exposed to different types of scenarios, would have the final say. But first and foremost, team collaboration is very important. Understanding that every person's opinion and every person's feedback is important,
is valuable,
yeah. And you take all that together, and then you make that decision that's best for everyone, for the team, and for the customer too.
And that makes total sense. So it sounds like you guys have a strong basis for creating these teams. What about the other two positions? So you addressed sales manager, you said sales rep, and then what about assistant?
Sales coordinator, so sales assistant and coordinator, so there's two more positions. A sales coordinator would be someone who is more like a junior role, who is really organized, who is really good at details, who loves consistency and loves delivering great results. Okay, and a team player, so someone who doesn't need the spotlight, but they're willing to learn. They are willing to just pick up the slack, or not pick up the slack, but you know what I mean. Just
they're a stabilizer.
Yeah, they're just like, they're grounded, and they're the ones that the sales manager and the sales rep would go to in case something goes in array and they need something quickly, and they just know how to think on the spot.
Okay.
A sales assistant is someone who's entering into the world of real estate, and they're willing to just learn and just take direction.
Yeah,
but their personality would also be a team player. They are they know how to take direction and instructions.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, and this is really, so basically what you've described in your teams how you're utilizing every single quadrant of the personality styles. So if we separate them by the names, which it's a different type. Actually, Larry Wilson, in his book, if you guys haven't read it, it's probably the best, most efficient, and quick read on personality styles. If you haven't read it, you should pick it up. It's perfect for anyone in sales or anyone looking to communicate better with even family and friends.
The name of the book?
It's called, that's a great question. It's Larry Wilson's versatility personality styles, I believe. So the four quadrants that he explains are driver, amiable, expressive, and analytical. Each have their own role. And from what you just said from your sales teams that you form, it sounds like the manager would take that driver role of quickly making decisions, problem solving, shows initiative, very decisive, that type of person. It seems like, the sales rep, you said that they have to be able to take direction. And sorry, what else did you say about them? Just refresh my memory.
They need to take direction. They also need to be a role model to the sales coordinator and the sales
Right, so that could actually be any of the personality styles, but it probably is someone, and you also said they support though, right?
They're great supporters, absolutely.
So they're probably somebody that's amiable. Okay, so they if you don't know what an amiable is, it's somebody that that you make friends easily. A lot of people like you. Yes,
you like to interact, and you like to be the helper.
You do not like conflict. In which case you're going to support these other roles.
I would think that all four would not want to have conflict.
Drivers and expressives will normally have more conflict, or if you're on the opposite ends of the spectrum and the personality style is just so different that they do things and process information in different ways, there can be conflict. But I agree, for a really efficient and high functioning team, of course, you want to minimize the natural conflict that can develop in any type of decision making situation. I
think a driver may create that conflict because they're very bold in their decisions and they may not consider the opinions of others. But I feel like that's more of a manager. If you're a true leader, charismatic leader, you would actually know how to navigate conversation safely and not as disruptive within the team.
sometimes for people that's almost a learned trait though, right? Because they're going to do things their own way and they might not consider how well they just, it's not how they, so for example, you know how I gave the example of me in the past, and I say things because I'm decisive. I'll give you my honest opinion. You never need to guess what I'm thinking, and sometimes the delivery is not in a way that makes people feel nice.
Okay, so it's the delivery of the words of...
Because for example, like if you were communicating with me, like let's say I'm going to hire you for a job, I care about the bottom line, how you're going to do it, and when you're going to start. I don't need the other information. And analytical wants to know what the actual timeline is from the start date of this, like from the conversation that we've just had to the end, to the start date, to how long that process is going to take, to down to the penny, how much it's actually going to cost me. And then I'm going to weigh my decisions, positive or negative, and then I'm going to make a decision.
Yeah, you want to know why? Okay, I'm very much like you. There is one incident that changed my entire delivery.
Oh, tell us. Tell us.
So I used to be super blunt, super just like, I probably offend a lot of people the way I deliver my words, but there was one meeting I had with a developer and we were at a table, we were finished our meeting, and I told the sales rep, okay, you can go now, we're gonna have our sales manager meeting, meaning like...
You dismissed them.
I dismissed them and I made them feel like their input was not important in the next meeting because it's a management meeting. And the CEO pulled me aside after and talked to me about how I don't even know if she felt that way, but the CEO pulled me aside after and told me this is how I viewed it. This is what I saw from what you talked to her about or what you told her. And so that actually changed my entire conversation, like how I conversate with people and how I give instructions or how I basically communicate.
So that sounds like a really valuable experience. It's not a bad thing. It's actually, it worked in your favor that the CEO pulled you aside and said, hey, Jenny, the delivery on that might not have landed well with that particular employee or whoever the assistant was.
My attitude before that was I'm a one-woman show and I just have to be on my path of getting things done and I didn't need anybody's help. Now that my business have expanded, I have used that skill very well because I'm able to let go. I don't micromanage. I trust my team. I feel like they trust me, and it's the feeling's reciprocated. Yeah.
So you bring up a good point. There's two things. One, you were talking about your natural go-to personality style, and then secondly, when you're talking about how you act now, this is not your natural go-to personality style. You've adapted with a wider range of versatility to interact properly with your team members.
I think it comes with age too. I've seen my dad, he's just like a very soft, gentle guy. And to me, like that's who I want to be.
Are we gonna meet him one day?
If he flies out here. Do I talk about him a lot?
No, he just sound, well, he does sound lovely though. I kind of I'd like to meet him.
He just has a very gentle approach with things, and he's very humble. Yeah, I just feel like that's who I want to be like.
So I've always gotten the sense from you, I've actually always thought that you were very considerate.
Okay.
Which is not similar to somebody typically with a driver personality style. They come across as jerks or like, you know, they're gonna run you over with a boulder. But I've actually never gotten that sense from you. When we first met, I just thought that you wanted to get things done, yes. But when was that again? That was like almost a decade ago or something. But I never got the sense that you were somebody that was uncaring. So that's something special. You should be happy about that. You're welcome.
You sound like you don't carry that.
What do you mean?
You do. You carry that. You sound like you don't carry that.
Carry what?
The caring part.
Oh, I care. I just, when people first meet me, I'm more careful now to explain things the way that their personality would want me to explain it. Like, let's put it this way. That's a terrible way of explaining
Okay,
it.
why don't you keep it as authentic as possible to you? So have you experienced something where someone kind of
Offended me?
offended you
Never.
or fired you?
Hardly
Or
ever, no.
So why do you have to be careful?
Okay, this is a good question, because I've offended people a lot. I am being authentic in my career, and it's not for having no heart. It's not for being uncaring. It's because I get straight to the point. Not everybody wants you to get straight to the point. They need you to deliver the information in a way that is still effective, but that they can receive it. So, for example, I will give you an example, and this actually is a personal scenario, not to do with the business. It had to do with the birth of my first son. Oh, that was an experience. I was trying to labor naturally. I'm like, yes, I could do this. It's great. Fast forward, I ended up having to have an emergency C-section. But before they give you the emergency C-section, of course they need to explain the risks associated with what they're going to do, etc., etc. I let my husband sleep on the floor while they were explaining the risks to me, because I am great in a high pressure situation.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you know, some of the challenges might be that, you know, you're having an infection right now, so we need to take him out right away. It's very dangerous for both you and the baby. I'm like, yeah. What are the options right now? You need me to sign a waiver? What is in the waiver? They're like, well, worst case scenario, you're going to be deaf. I'm like, well, it's death or death. Death or death. So give me the form, I will sign it, and then I'll wake him up, because he should have a nice calm experience right now before I wake him up and then freak him out. He doesn't deal with stress the same way. So even in that moment when it was very high stress, and they had me on the table in 10 minutes. High stress, I don't need you to explain it in a coddling way. Tell me what the facts are. I'm aware of the risks. I am ready to sign.
Okay.
But she was doing her job, because not everybody's that way. It's really, really emotional. And I can only imagine how some people would react to that. It's like, holy crap, am I gonna die? Is the baby gonna die? I don't wanna sign that form. What happens if I end up dead? And they, dying instead of being dead.
That goes through people's minds.
But so when I give these examples, it's not because, it's only because how I want to be communicated with as a driver, it wouldn't offend me. Or if they're like, oh, you're offset, I'm like, okay, tell me why. Because I wasn't thinking about it, and I would like you to tell me why so that I can fix it for the next time. So does that kind of help?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's an example.
Do you think that part of being a salesperson is actually mirroring or talking the way that person wants to receive it, rather than the way you want to be sending it?
Yes, because every client, what they're going through is real. So no matter what their personality style, it is real. It is real for them. They have realistic fears about a certain situation and or concerns about what happens if this doesn't work. Are we going to get the results? And so therefore, for me, I would be a terrible advocate for them and salesperson, terrible, if I explained it to them the way I wanted to know, which would just be the three things. How quickly can you sell it? What are you going to yeah, and then give me the paperwork. I want to sign the paperwork once. I don't need you to tell me what's happening. I just need the results. Whereas somebody that's, they'll get analytical, will want more information, like we discussed, right? So let's just give the example. So analytical, when you're selling their home, they're going to want to know about the process. They're going to want to know about the net proceeds down to the penny. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's actually a great idea, and you're explaining it to them in a way that takes their fears away, so that they can then just make the decision on what they want to do and what's best for them.
Right.
And then you take somebody who's an amiable personality style. Did you see how the demeanor just changed there? Very important to explain things to them in a soft manner. The pace of the speech is slower so that they can understand it. It doesn't have to be as quick and rapid, because it just freaks them out. You also can't pressure them to make a decision, because they will take that as you're not on their side.
They'll base their decisions on likability and trust.
But let them go through the process so that they can make their own decision. And then I have the most difficulty dealing with expressives. I've always had the most difficulty dealing with expressives.
Do you pass those type of clients on to your team?
I don't, because it would be terrible for my versatility to do that, and I actually do feel like I'm the right person to help them. But then it's a matter of, so the reason why, and I'll explain this, I have the most difficulty dealing with expressive personality styles is because they will base their decision making, and it's not wrong. It's not wrong, it's just not the way I do it. Based on how they are feeling. It's all emotion. And I do not base my decisions on emotion. I would like quick facts and bottom line.
Are you with that with everything that
Yes.
you purchase and the way you make decisions, like everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why, so this is, you know, when we did the personality style test, it's not a great thing that it was so high on the drive. It's like 99% natural
Yeah.
and 90% adaptive, where I let the other ones come in.
Yeah.
It's not great because it's not even a hybrid of different personality styles. But the expressive, so they'll make a decision, they'll walk into a home, for example, if you're gonna buy a home and you're an expressive, oh my gosh, it feels so lovely. I can see myself in that breakfast corner with my family at like 8 in the morning. It's gonna be the best. We can have family dinners and this and that. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not that they're wrong.
Yeah, no. They're
They
just
go through
they're just
their own
more expressive.
process.
They're just more expressive,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is kind of why we're talking about personality styles today. What quadrant do you have the most difficulty dealing with?
Dealing with probably the C. It's constant. What's the
Analytical? But you're analytical.
No.
Because we're calling
well,
different things because we're on different.
I see. Okay, I am analytical, but I hate that side of me.
You do? Why?
Yes, because
it's a good side.
Yeah, but sometimes if you're too analytical,
Can't make a decision.
things can't get done.
And this is typical. This is why we're talking about personality styles. But an analytical is great on a team because they're kind of like they weigh those
careful.
scales,
They're more
and
careful,
they're more cautious,
yeah.
and they're more precise with the details, which
Yeah.
is a very important thing to have on a team.
I am a hybrid of everything. Maybe the lesser part is the expressive, but I can definitely handle those type of clients. However, my favorite type of client are the drivers and the A's.
Me too.
The drivers, just because the developers can make a decision quickly. I can get my job done and get going, but I can handle working with all personalities on my team.
No, and this is the thing, it's come with experience. Like I said, I do deal with expressives.
Yeah.
Now, some of them are great friends. I have this friend, I have to tell you, he's a fantastic realtor, folks, if you're looking to buy real estate in Italy. He works out of Milan. High expressive. Mirko Scrofani, if you're listening to this podcast. High expressive. Like,
You
Mirko's
probably
the
need
best.
to actually just sit down and have like espresso with him, and nothing gets done, right, for like a couple
Oh,
hours.
he's the best though. So it's funny though, right? Because on a personal level, he's just so lovely, but he'll wear the brightest shirts on earth with the brightest socks, and very Italian Milan style. So for expressive, sometimes you can tell an expressive based on what they wear in terms of their clothing. Very bright, very loud. They're also very bright and very loud. But it was funny because we used to run scripts, real estate scripts together. It was an international training program through Mike Ferry. So when we were running the scripts together, he would always say to me, Toni, my most difficult people to deal with are driver personality styles. And I said, that's so funny because my most difficult client to deal with are expressive. So we're actually really good friends. We visited him in Italy last year.
Yeah.
And he'll always send me a message being like, this seller is high driver. I said, Mirko, remember, do not talk a lot. Just tell them how long it's going to take to sell their place, what the price is, what you're charging, and then have them sign it. He's like, but don't they want? I'm like, no, they don't want to hear about the other things. Just do it.
Time is always like a constraint
Of the
for them.
essence, yeah. And so then when I've had problems in the past dealing with clients where, they're very high emotion and I have difficulty relating because, again, it's not that I feel that they're wrong. They're all lovely people, but I just can't tap into it. I don't understand.
Do you feel like you end up, those clients are still long-term clients, or it's like a one transaction type of thing?
No.
Okay.
So in the beginning, I never actually worked with expressives. I was like, no. But then through reading Larry Wilson's Versatility and the 8 personality styles, and also with practice, it's no personality style is right or wrong. All of them have their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
So it's not about right or wrong.
Yeah, of course.
It's just about communicating with them in a way I'm like, okay, then if they're emotional about this, what kinds of things would they go through? So I've had to train myself more and be like, well, they're probably going to feel X, Y, and Z. If I was someone that felt more emotion, would I feel X, Y, and Z? Yeah, probably.
I'm curious to know your husband.
Yeah, he's amiable.
Okay. So he's...
Because mostly amiables and high drivers are the only people that can get together. Expressives and drivers would kill each other. Driver analytical is possible, but then you have to have a little bit of an analytical side too, which I do, but not down to the penny.
Okay.
So Warren is more analytical than me.
Okay.
It drives him nuts. Hi, Warren. It drives him nuts.
Warren is your brother?
Yeah, and business partner.
Yeah.
When I round up or down, I'm like, it just needs to be rough and dirty. I'm like, this is what it is. And funnily enough, and he's like, he's like, no, it's 0.17 cents. I'm like, yeah, doesn't make a huge difference at the end of the day, unless you're doing estimating for a development on a building, in which case 17 cents multiplied by 300 units would make a huge difference. So I'm not being cavalier. I'm just saying in certain scenarios,
there's a time and a place for everything.
There's a time and a place.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyhow, so we were talking about the importance of personality styles. We've talked about a little bit about each different quadrant, why it's important to be versatile in communicating with either clients, friends, family that would fall under each different category. And you touched on hiring an effective team, and it was interesting though, because your effective team really does utilize all of those personality quadrants. So you're drawing on everyone's strengths to bring the team together.
I would say that they're all different in certain ways.
Of course, it's not a cut like, oh, you're this, you're that. Of course, you can fall into multiple categories.
Yeah. So guys, we're coming back. We just taken our test right now, and we're going to share our results.
From the 16
personality
type tests.
And I am the executive, ESTJ, 81% extroverted, which I'm actually very surprised.
See, that's why I was like, but you don't strike me as someone that's extroverted.
No? I'm like super on the quiet end, or?
You thought I was more extroverted than you. I came across as intellectual.
Well, no, that's good. You're intellectual.
No, but I'm not.
Why would you say you're not?
Okay,
you mean as your main, you mean as one of your personalities, like as a strong point?
Well, so people normally think that I have that ability to be like expressive. It's exhausting to me. After work, I need to not talk to anybody. So in order for me to recharge, I don't like to talk to anybody. I like to be in silence. No distractions.
But I would probably say you're way more of an extrovert in person in a group setting than I am.
So that,
because I like to retreat
that
too.
Is an adapted trait. I'm not actually that way. When I got into real estate, I learned how to do that because it was important, but it was exhausting. So that's not, well, you know how we were talking about natural style and adapted ability? That's not my natural style. So tell everyone what your results say.
81% extroverted, 55% observant.
Yeah, you're very observant.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think so.
You totally are.
67% thinking.
Yeah.
And I am 60% judging.
Ooh.
What does that mean?
Just kidding.
That means I like to prospect, and I like to look at available options. And 90% assertive. I agree with that.
Yeah, you're assertive for sure.
Yeah. I'm very confident in my ideas. And
do you know what's funny?
What?
Sometimes when Miranda, who's like the best, she's behind the camera right now, she'll ask for our opinions on something. You'll reply right away, do this, that. I'll get the email. I'm like, yeah, sure, I agree with most of these. I'm like, and also, could you please add this in? I'm like, this is like, Miranda's nodding in the background because Jenny's really bossy.
Am I bossy, Miranda? Miranda, come into this conversation.
You're very lucky that your partner here doesn't take offense to anything.
I think that's the way she likes to receive it.
No, I do.
She hasn't said anything to me.
I do though. I'm like, this is great. I'm like, you're on top of it. Make that decision. She's like, anyhow, it's funny though because every time I'm like, okay, I'll add my 2 cents.
I think that's how we get things done.
That is also why. That's also why the podcast was released like 3 weeks after we met to talk about it because we both like to execute like quick. I'm quick too, and sometimes it bothers my team because I'm like, I wanted the results yesterday.
Yeah.
And it wasn't done.
Yeah. No, I sometimes I do lag a little bit behind if I'm bombarded with emails, but I do like to just like get things done.
I am intellectual. It's INTJ. It says that this personality style is most similar to high D, driver on the disc, which we already talked about. Okay, so it says, it doesn't give the breakdown, but it says introversion, which is true. Do you remember I had said to you, I'm actually an introvert? You were shocked. I am. I'm not an extrovert. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I guess I every time we get together, it's about work. It's about, we got to be on point with things.
Yeah, but introversion, so I draw energy from spending time alone. I was always a bit of a loner anyhow, and I like to make decisions on my own too. Then intuition was very high. So intuitive types, they like to also think big picture. Thinking, they like to use their head when making decisions and not emotion. So there you go. We talked about that earlier too. And I do have a judging component, just like you, which is, there's a part of me that does tend to be very structured and organized. But I find that I'm either very structured and organized or I'm not. Do you know what I mean? It's like I am very, or I'm just like, really, I don't know what happened here. I don't know why that happens. It's probably when it's just everything's so busy. I don't have time to commit like fully to going over something in a certain time span. So, but both of these I think are consistent with when you look at the types. So this can be associated too with like ideal types of jobs.
Yeah. Job placement.
That's right. And both of ours were consistent, I think, with executive, like a business. So there's no right or wrong personality style. There's different ways of getting there. And anybody can be successful in anything that they want to achieve, but you're going to go about it in a different way.
I also feel like I've done these tests maybe every other year or every 3 years, and it's slightly, the percentage either changes or there's one certain thing that has shifted a little bit. Based on where I am in my life and what my priorities are too.
That's an important point. What about when you do the disc? How often do you redo the disc? Because that for me is the most stable. It never changes.
That, yes, because that's I feel like that's more about like what's in you, how you were raised, or what your DNA is. But I feel like the Clifton Strengths one and the 16 personalities, it has shifted a little bit for me.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think the only thing we didn't cover in what we had said we were going to cover today was how to spot the personality styles quickly, so that you know how to communicate in the way that they would want to receive the information.
Okay, so how do you spot them?
So not all the time, but there's different ways. So which one do you want to do first?
Okay, how would you spot somebody who's expressive?
Okay, so sometimes you can just tell by the way that they're dressed. It could be a very unique hairstyle. It could be that they're wearing a lot of different colors. For men in business, they either just have great style or they're wearing really bright socks. Nothing wrong with that. But in terms of how they communicate, so that's just how they look, right? Often they're going to be very well groomed too.
Yeah.
But in terms of how they speak, their speech will be rapid.
Okay.
Very rapid.
And the tone is high and low.
Yes.
Lots of
all over the place.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Body language wise, they're using their hands.
Yeah. Open, very, gregarious, I guess. So this personality type actually tends to get offended very easily because they feel. Yeah. They feel, and it's like, oh, that made me feel a certain way. Again, not wrong, but that's how you can spot one.
How do you spot someone who is yeah?
So most of the time, these people have a lot of friends, and they're across all different types of people. They get along with everybody. Sometimes can be very soft-spoken, not always. In terms of...
They tend to agree a lot.
They will agree and not say no, though. So you have to be careful, because a challenging thing with amiables is if they ask you for your opinion and they're not actually in agreement with what you say, they'll still agree. So it's really hard to really know what's going to make them comfortable and what they're actually looking to achieve if they're not vocal about it.
Maybe they're the best clients anyways, because they will
They're all
listen
very
to
lovely. But they're all very lovely. Actually, John Tsai, John Tsai, my good friend, he is an amiable. He's he's a very successful realtor in Vancouver, top 1%. And I remember when we both were at Rennie, his challenge was mostly to say no. And John, I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this because I know that you also are very vocal about this too. But it was a challenge, like really saying no, or like he didn't want to disagree, or was concerned about conflict. Mm-hmm. And so I learned the most about amiables through John, because I'm like, oh, he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that, and he doesn't want to say.
He's very likable then. Very
likable. I mean, everybody loves John, so hence he's an amiable.
I don't think I even met him before.
You haven't?
No.
We should have him on the show. He's great. Awesome. Top producer. Analytical, often they sit up straight. They sit up straight. In terms of how they dress, very clean, either in white or black. Not a lot of colors. If it's a female, jewelry is very plain. Highly structured. Very, they don't like things dirty. The papers will be neat and tidy, and everything will be accounted for. Actually, it's great if you're dealing with an analytical client that's just done renovations on their home, because they've literally kept a binder this thick on every single thing that's transpired, so it's great.
Are you patient with them? Because they are very, very detailed.
I deal well with analyticals because I can switch over. I do have difficulty sometimes dealing with high analytical, because I'm at the other end of high driver. So high analytical down to every cent. I'm not going to do everything to every cent all the time.
Right.
And they will expect that. But interestingly enough, I would say even from this year, some of the best relationships I've formed, they're all personality styles. It's not one or the other. It's just that the information needs to be tapered differently to them. They often speak very slow.
Analytical,
it's slow,
yes, because they're methodical.
That's right. And the intonation is steady. So yeah, you can spot.
Sounds boring.
They're not boring. They're just, but it does take them a while to make a decision.
I have a bit of that in me.
So when you're making a decision then, if you were analytical, you'd want the facts, pros and cons, and your time to understand the data.
I think I was like that before, but now I'm more like, what I need to just bigger picture, but also I make a decision very quickly.
Yeah, that's your driver's side.
Yeah.
So let's do drivers, because that was the last one. How to spot a driver. They also talk very quickly.
Yep.
They're impatient. Really impatient.
Are you describing yourself?
I am, but it's true because I can attest to it. And in terms, so it's funny because sometimes people will mix up driver with analytical based on how they present themselves, but you can generally tell by the clothing.
Okay.
It's a small, it's true. It's like a small nuance thing.
So you're saying analyticals, they basically dress very boring and straight and...
Well, what's my favorite color?
Black.
I love black and I love white. So that's that side of me. Okay. I don't like wearing color.
And so a driver is...
Quick to make decisions.
Yeah.
They will speak very quickly. It's almost like you have to just give them exactly what they're asking for, answer their questions, and then you'll get the work.
Good.
And that about sums up personality styles. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on? We might have missed it. Sorry, I was leading the discussion today, everyone.
You're doing a great job.
I'm not my best right now.
She's about to give birth on this table.
Should I show them the stomach? I don't know if it'll show up in camera. I'll show you. It hurts so bad. It hurts so bad. So I hope that it was clear and easy to follow somewhat.
One thing that they can take away is when you are dealing with clients, be very intuitive and in tune with who you're working with, because I feel like you will be able to be more successful in your business that way by being able to work with a whole wide range of clients.
Right. Instead of just people that are similar to you. So thank you guys so much for listening. That concludes our conversation today on personality styles. But if you have questions about how you should be, what you should be learning and how you should be dealing with your guys' clients, then definitely reach out or team building.
DM us if you do the test yourself. We'd like to see and hear about your results too.
And where do they send that information to?
To In the House Podcast, our social media account. You can also check us out on IGTV, YouTube. Where else? What's our email address? In the House Podcast at gmail.com.
Miranda's saying no, she's actually the boss behind the camera. Miranda, what is it?
Oh yeah. West Coast Real Estate Agents at gmail.com. There you go, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.